they always seem to be plays that are like you would assume are just natural plays that are easy to make. I mean, there's not very many of them that I've seen where we dropped a pass that hit our guy's hands, or there's a fumble on the ground and it just went right under our guy and went right back to their guy. You know, like that stuff happens often. We just never come up with it. Last night was great, but I have such a hard time looking over the past 3 years of our defense and saying and betting on anything of, oh, yeah, that ball is right on the ground and there's no other opposing player within 10 yards. I'm still not betting that we get that ball. I don't know why. I don't know how it's going to happen, but somehow we're not going to get that ball. I don't know why that is. I hope it changes. I hope you're right. I hope TCU falls right in line with their stats. But I couldn't – you couldn't get me to wager anything on it.
Yeah, because the thing that I need to also remind folks about is while TCU is 5-5, they did beat Texas. And you could make the joke that who hasn't beat Texas, well, I mean, it's still, you know, what I fear is that Tay Barber can take the lid off the defense, and so can Jalen Reagor. And when they're not, you're probably going to get run on. And that's, you know, like thinking about Grinch, thinking about the defense, thinking about how much people really love to bag on Bookie. And he had a couple of busts, one in which he just got caught in no man's land, and he didn't take the back. He was supposed to take the back. Back went over the top, goes for 6. And you can see Grinch is lighting him up. But the thing that I saw, though, was Bookie take the coaching, as they say. Like me, I figured out a long time ago, I am not built for that. You can't just yell at me and call it instruction. You're going to have to talk to me like an adult. Like even as a child.
I don't know why it's so difficult for people to understand. I really don't. You know, if anybody who's listening has followed me for any amount of time while I was on Twitter, like this has always been my take. I'm never going to trash talk somebody that's doing something that I was never able or capable of doing. Not just the coaching, but the athletic ability as well, and what it takes to be able to play at a high level in Division I football. You're not going to see me do that. Like, did Bookie miss some plays? Did he play well in accordance with that level of football?
No.
And the expectations that we have? Certainly not.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be the guy to tell him that he's terrible, or
especially on Twitter,
mom,
right?
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to tag his mom in a tweet and be like, dude, your son's terrible. You know, like, I'm not doing that's because this guy's doing something that 95% of people in the world can't do.
Well, the way that I get at that, right, is we're talking about guys and in many cases women, when we're talking about in other sports, who are blessed with athleticism and ability that is innate. That's like being able to throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. You know, you don't coach it, you just have it or you don't. And I don't think that there's merit to that. I don't think that there's skill to that. I think there is skill and merit to how do you handle yourself, right? And that's what I get at about the coaching, right? If you think that coaching is yelling at a person, you're going to have to actually walk that out for me, because what we would call that is actually just getting yelled at and losing your temper. All right, so it's different when you're on a football field or it's different when you're in an athletic environment. I think that it worked with some people. Like Jeremy Pruitt's kids love him, and we watched him just lay into Jared Guarantano, who tried to win a game against Alabama. But for me, it's always going to be, what does the kid respond to? Does the kid just say, no, that's how I was raised, and I get that, I'm with that? Because Bookie's also the guy, Caleb Kelly was first to point this out when he got on the campus, because we were asking about him, you know, and he's going, he's different. And we say, okay, everybody says that, we get it, you put that on a shirt, how is he different? He said Mike would yell at him, and he would say, hey, coach, just tell me, like, clearly, what is it that you want me to do differently? You don't have to yell, I got it. And Mike would keep yelling at him. And Bookie would hear what he was saying in between being yelled at and try to go do that without giving it back, without saying, hey, man, you ain't got to yell at me. He would just kind of be like, all right, this is how you communicate. And in many instances, for me, especially as I follow the kid and I've got to know people around him, he's the adult in the room. He's the guy that's just going to let you vent. He's going to and I don't know any 19-year-olds that are doing that, Brett.
Yeah, I mean, his environment that he comes from, it's well documented. I think
Right.
it's pretty easy when you come from something like that in an area like that in a place like that to, there's not going to be much that's going to phase you, right? Like you're out, you got out, you're doing your thing. But I think his maturity for sure is unquestionable. I mean, there's no argument that you can make against it. And as us as grown men and women who want to sit on the couch and eat Cheetos while we're watching football and yell at a kid for not making an incredibly difficult split second decision on where they're supposed to be at and how they're supposed to defend and then add the athletic ability, God given or not, right? But you have to incorporate it in with the mental capacity it takes to play the game at this level. Hey, it's just it doesn't make sense to look at any one of these kids, no matter their success on this level, in a negative light, because they're just chasing their dreams, man, and they're doing the best that they can. If you walk up to any one of those kids, if you walk up to Bookie right now and say, "Hey, man, let's go back to last night. You get a mulligan. How many plays would you miss?" If he gets to choose, right? Like he's going to choose 9.
Right.
It's not like the kid's like out there purposely doing it, right? Like that's not how it works. But this is also what makes college football fun, right? Is the amount of emotion that's involved in it and how passionate people are about it. And it's why it's in my opinion, one of the greatest sports on the planet, because it is the greatest sport in the game as football. But then you add that level of camaraderie, of attachment. People go to school and pay money to these schools, and then they're a part of that fraternity for life. And this is what represents that fraternity in a very visible fashion. So I get it. I understand it. It's just not something that I personally will ever do. And to your point, when I played in high school, I never had an issue with my coaches yelling at me, and I've had them, up in my face quite a bit. But I think a lot of it depends on the relationship, like you said, that you have. If that's all the relationship is, I'm sure it's going to get draining real quick. I have a feeling with Grinch that that's not all the relationship is, and it's those points in time are saved for situations and circumstances that call for it. And I'm sure most kids on that team probably can understand that and have a relationship with him, but for sure Bookie, like for sure, because of his maturity level.
I'll buy that, man. Is there anything else you want to get in? Because I know that we've been talking football and whatnot, but it's good to hear you, dude. It just is, especially.
Yeah, man, all the time. I love doing this. I love giving some time and catching up, and this is fun for me, and I love supporting what you're doing. I don't really have anything. What I would say is I didn't get a chance to tell you. You had mentioned maybe jumping off Twitter and what that might look like for you. We talk about him in our private text message a lot. But Peter McKinnon, if you look at his YouTube, he's got 4 mil.
Yeah.
And you look at his Twitter, and he's got 335,000.
Yeah.
The content that you're doing and what you're doing, I don't think is reliant on Twitter. Now, I don't want to encourage you to leave it, but you could probably limit your time there as to linking it to some sort of platform that posts for you automatically when you upload or something. You know what I mean?
No, well, I mean, and YouTube took that function away, and many creators were pissed because they were like, no, the data says that if you do this, manually, you get more engagement, yada yada yada. And it's like, no, that's not. You're missing it.
Yeah.
But we want to use our time for something else. But because it's, even at the small number that I'm at, the bigger it gets, the less it feels like I'm just talking to my friends, and the more it feels like somebody's just going to aggregate what I say or what I made a joke about that I think, the people that I tweet for. So like I went to go see Ford v Ferrari because that story speaks to me. It has always spoken to me. I love it.
Did you already watch it?
Oh yeah. I went the day it came out.
What did you think? Like in like one word.
One word.
Okay, one sentence.
I was crying about watching grown-ass white men in the 60s.
All right, that's what's up.
Okay.
So I have a Shelby, and I'm super
Oh
excited.
my God! Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm super excited to go see it because I now own
Oh
kind of
man,
that,
that's
and
awesome.
yeah, definitely.
God.
So I'm excited to hear that you enjoyed it, and that it was something that was good for you, because I don't go to the movies often,
Oh
but I think I'm gonna make a trip for
no,
this
no,
one.
make the time, and I'll put it this way: I went to go see it at IMAX on like
Oh, nice,
right,
nice.
but it was me and like four. I'm gonna say that the youngest person in there is probably like 60. So it's like, it's for us. You're either
Yeah, yeah,
you're a
yeah.
car nut, or you grew up with this story. And I read AJ Bain's book, Go Like Hell, which is fantastic. If you want an in on this story, Ford v Ferrari is about the Ford Motor Company trying to win Le Mans, and Le Mans is the toughest race in the entire world to win. It is 24 hours. It is on a country friggin' road. There are no guardrails. It is not NASCAR. And it is, as I say, 24 hours, you're driving at night. And you're
And it
4
was
hours off.
dominated by foreign
Yes.
manufacturer, right?
And Ferrari would spend every dime he had to win that race. He was bankrupt, still making Ferraris so that he could win that race. That's how much it meant to him. And that's why Ford wanted to win it, right? And at the time, we're talking about the dudes having all this money to spend on the best race cars. And then he found the only guy, or not the only guy, but one of the only Americans to ever win it in Carroll Shelby. And Shelby is perhaps the greatest American race car, or just car designer who ever lived. And my favorite is the 67 GT500, and it is too expensive. But if I ever do get there, I will own one. For those of
Yeah,
you
so
that,
I've got a
what do you
I've
got?
got a 16 GT350,
Okay, no,
and
that's primo.
no, it's incredible. It's
That's
incredible. But yeah, I'd love. I mean, I've said my uncle had a 67 GT350, which is why I wanted the
oh,
350
that's
so bad
awesome.
when they remade it.
What color?
And that, if I ever had a dream car to pick, that's what I would do. I mean, the 500 is almost unattainable,
Yeah,
but the
well,
350 is a little bit more attainable. So I feel like that's like a bucket list goal that
you
I
can
can.
order a 350. You can
Yeah.
order a new 500. You can't find the 67. Nobody's gonna sell you a 67.
Well, I just feel like there's, some kind of luck of the draw could happen where I might stumble across one, but you're probably right. No. So I'm just going to have to deal with the 16, which I'm okay with, but no, dude, I'm super excited to see that. And other than that, man, there's nothing really to go on, but I'm happy to talk to you and hear you, and I love what you're doing again. I always say it, and I'm always going to support you.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
How are the monologues hitting you? How's the prompter? Because
I love them.
Okay.
I love them, but I mean, look, we live in a different day and age, and people want instant gratification, and people are very selfish, and they only want to listen to what they want to listen to. I have always loved creativity. I have always loved when I can tell that there's a lot of effort into something, that somebody put a lot into something. And for me, it's one of my favorite segments that you've ever done, because I really, really enjoy the amount of effort and detail that you put into them. And I really enjoy the creativity. They're always funny. They're always witty. They're always smart and intelligent. I love them. And I say, screw everybody else who doesn't. Keep doing them.
Well, no, and that's that. Thank you, because when I wanted to do that and when I decided to do that, I get that it's a little bit old school for people's taste, and I get that people like it when you're just kind of up here yelling for no apparent reason. But I've, for the most part, been organized in most things that I do, and I missed writing, and it's a thing that I'm good at. Like I did one, I think, tonight. Yeah, I did do one tonight, and it was 1,700 words, and I routinely pump those out.
I can't even imagine what it takes to do something like that. I mean, I guess I put a lot of effort into work, so like I'm proud of the work that I do in my career. So I would assume that I could put the same level of what you do, because you're doing this for a living, so it makes sense. But man, listen, I wasn't lying when I told you, like, the first time I didn't know that this is what you were going to do, and I just clicked on the next RJ video and I put it on while I was doing some other stuff. And I remember thinking to myself, like, why does RJ sound like Stuart Scott right now? What is going on? Like, what? And then I sat down and I listened more intently, and I was like, is this a new thing? And then, like, it was like a week later, and I heard the next one. I was like, this is a new thing. All right, that's what's up. And I really enjoyed it. And I would tell you this as somebody that I love dearly, and who I consider a very good friend. Just do what you want to do, man. Don't worry about anybody else. You are always going to be successful in this life if you've got the work hard thing down. I don't know anybody else that works harder than you. You've got the personality thing down. You're incredibly intelligent, educated, and fun to listen to. You've got a great sense of humor, and you've got a kindness that doesn't happen at your level of success very often. So just do what you want to do, man. Like, the rest will follow. You might lose some, but you're gonna gain some others. Just do what you want to do, man. Don't let anybody steer you any direction or pigeonhole you into thinking you have to do something to maintain your success or be more successful. Just follow your heart, man, and the rest will take care of itself.
Brett Burns, aka the Angry Sooner, one of my pals, and I'm going to make more of an effort to do this, dude. Thank you so much.
Hey, listen, it doesn't matter if we do it twice a week or we don't do it for another 3 years. It's all good. I enjoy it every time we do it, and when it makes sense, let's rock and roll, and when it doesn't, keep doing our thing, man.
Right on, man.